This year, many of the seasons have got a bit muddled for us in this unusual season. But here at church, we're thinking about ways that we can prepare for Christmas and mark the season of Advent. We're going to be having a Pennington Community Advent calendar on our hedge, and I encourage you to think about ways that you could do this at home. You might want to make an Advent wreath, and I'm going to show you one way that you could do it, and then various other ways that you might. You might want to decorate an Advent carol or a Christmas carol and put it in your window. There's all sorts of things that you can get involved with at home. For this, I've got an oasis, a wet oasis wreath, and I've got various bits of holly and ivy from the garden. You need to make sure you collect these from somewhere that you've got permission for. I've also got some candles. I'm using 5 white ones. You might want to use coloured ones. It's traditional perhaps to use 3 purple and 1 pink, or to use red ones with a white one in the middle. Use whatever you've got to hand. I found some fir cones, some bits of baubles. Use what you've got, and I'm going to show you how to make one. So I'd started by soaking this oasis in water overnight, and then firstly adding in the candles. I've pushed them straight into the oasis here. You might want to wrap them in wire and or use a holder to put them in first as well if you like. Then using various bits of small bits of various evergreen foliage, pick from perhaps your garden or from a hedgerow that you know you've got permission to use. And here pushing it all around the Advent wreath. It's lots of little bits. Try and fill in the gaps, push it all round. And yes, the holly is a bit spiky, but it's traditional. This one hasn't got red berries. You might find some with berries. And this is your Advent wreath, permission to make it as you want it, with the leaves, with the bits that you want to add in. I added some garden wire to some small baubles that I had at home to add a bit of sparkle and shine. You might, if you've got an access to them, if you've got them at home, you might want to use traditional slices of dried orange or cinnamon sticks. We had some fir cones that we'd found and we added those in too.
Right, and here in the vicarage in Lymington, I'm going to make a table Advent wreath. So I've got my basic candle and some a few pretend berries around it. Lots of oasis, and I've been into the garden to collect various bits of evergreen plants and some more berries, but in particular I've brought in some leaves from my pulmonaria plant, which look like this. And the reason that I'm putting some of this in is that pulmonaria is also known as Joseph and Mary plant because of the beautiful blue and pink flowers it produces. So they're going to go in as well. So, off I go. Right, so here we are. I'm just putting the last few bits in, trying to cover up the oasis as my mother always taught me. And there we are. One Advent wreath full of holly and ivy and berries and my pulmonaria. Right, back to Rachel.
So having made the Advent wreath here, I've realised the reason why we often use long candles is because I've currently created a fire risk. So at home, think about what you're using and whether you might want longer candles. I'm actually going to take these ones out and replace them with some longer candles. So in our church, we'll be lighting 1 candle each Sunday in Advent, and then when we get to Christmas Day, we'll be lighting the central candle, remembering Jesus' birth on Christmas Day. I might see if I can find a longer one for there too. Now, as well as a traditional Advent wreath, that might be something that's of interest to you. I've got to remember to water that one now through Advent. You might like to find other different ways of marking Advent. I'm just going to move that one aside and show you some of the things you could do. You might want to just use a wreath you've already got at home. This is one that's intended to go on the door, and put a candle in the middle, and perhaps just 1 candle. There's other Advent candle traditions you might like. This is one I've been given that's got the 24 days, 1 to 24 marked on there. And the idea is that you light it and burn it for a bit and spend time in quiet and prayer while the candle burns. This is quite a chunky candle, so this one will involve quite a long time each day. You could similarly do the same with a dinner candle. And you could use, if you've got one at home, you might want to just use a permanent pen and mark it, 1 for each day. Like this, and to burn it each day at home. There's all sorts of different ways that you could do. So you might also want to create a bowl and just gather some found things. These are some fir cones we've had, and years ago with Elizabeth we decorated them with glitter, and it might be that you just create a bowl of interesting found things and perhaps a candle to use to mark for Advent. It might be that you choose to set up 4 candles and just have a line of 4 candles that you light, one, and add the first week just light 1 and the second week 2, and increase the candles that you're lighting each week through Advent. Or it might be that you enjoy colouring and want to decorate one. So here's one, a simple Celtic Advent wreath, and we'll have that available on our website. And it could be one that you then want to colour. Here's one I coloured earlier. And this has got a marking for love, hope, peace, joy and love. So for this one, you then might want to add a candle for each day, for each week, on each of the words, and then one in the centre for Christmas Day. And so each Sunday you light a new one, and you might like to light it during the week. So if you've got little children and actual burning candles might be a problem, it might be that you want to use LED night lights. These ones, some of them are plain and some of them are ones that I decorated earlier. So we encourage you this Advent to find a way to mark Advent that works for you and your family. You might want to use one of these ideas, you might have your own ideas. We'd love to see pictures of what you're doing that you're happy to share with us on Facebook, or send them through email to takepart@penningtonchurch.uk. We'd love to journey with you through Advent. Each day on Facebook and on YouTube, we'll be sharing with you an updated Pennington Community Advent calendar. There'll be a board that's going on our hedge and stories read by different members of our community, and we'll be lighting our Advent candle here too. We do hope to join with you as we journey together towards Christmas this unusual season.